All right.
Sweet.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to my stream.
Oh yes. What's up? All right.
All right. Well, starting. This is my friend Dawson. He's in my English and business class. Gotten to know him quite a good amount of time.
Oh yeah. It's been fun. Basically, how we met was we had English together, and I mean, I hated the class. I hate most classes in school, obviously, but this kid made it pretty entertaining for me. So I got to know him a little bit, got to talking or whatever, kicking it a little bit, and then now we're pretty good friends. But so where I come from, I originated, you could say, in Redding, California. I was born there and grew up there for 13 years. I then moved to the Bay Area and grew up in Castro Valley, 8th grade through part of freshman year. And then later moved to El Dorado Hills, actually, which is up by Sacramento. I'm sure some of you might know where it's at. Small town, very wealthy, very very white, needless to say. Not necessarily my cup of tea. I enjoy bigger cities, diversity, and everything of the sort. And the place where I was living, El Dorado Hills, just didn't have a lot to offer with life or anything really like that. And I'm a big person on getting to know your surroundings, getting out and experiencing things that you wouldn't normally experience otherwise if you were staying at home or whatever. And so I later then moved to San Diego, California, and that was about a year into college after I graduated high school in 2017. So I've been here a little over a year, and it's been a very interesting ride so far. It's been rewarding. It's been stressful as shit. It's been some of the best times I've ever had in my life. Yeah, it's been a friggin' ride. I'll say that. But yeah, so that's where I come from. I again am a super big person on living your life. I have a clothing brand that represents just that, and not really caring or taking life too seriously because it could obviously pass you by. And that's pretty much my backstory in a nutshell. So
Nice. So you did mention about having a clothing brand. What is your clothing brand?
Yeah, so basically it's called Fate Clothing Co. It is a streetwear clothing brand that represents, like I said, living your life to the fullest. The slogan is "Be the Unusual," which can, I guess you could say, relate to a lot of things in people's lives, whether it be, be the unusual in the sense of, get out and do whatever you want. Don't be the average person. Don't be boring. Live how you basically want to live, and everything of the sort. And just not really take shit from people in life. That's what it means to me. You can take it how you will. It's kind of, there for your own perception of it. You can have your own idea of what that means to you. And that's kind of the glory of it, I think, for a lot of people, and why a lot of people can relate to it is because they can take it and make it their own and kind of make their own opinion formed from that slogan. And I have heard for about a year or so now, since it's been in San Diego, that it's been growing and inspiring a lot more people. And I've been hearing a lot of good things coming from it, and it's probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever gotten to experience so far in my life. And I really hope to keep pushing with that after this semester is over, because a lot's been going on. But that's ultimately what I would like to do, is inspire people to live their life to their fullest potential. So
nice. I really respect that. I really enjoy his clothing brand. They're all good stuff, so check it out. And I like how it's a good touch to this topic in my stream, because yes, our topic is mental health. And when I first met Dawson, I assumed that he started this clothing brand to, of course, be the, what was it again?
The unusual.
The unusual.
Yeah.
You know, just live your life and do what you enjoy doing, you know? And speaking of mental health, people go through depression and stuff like that, anxiety, and they're afraid to live their own lives because they feel like they're like held by not their own choices but expectations of like their family members or people who tell them that they can't do this, they can't do that, such things like that. So what comes to your mind when you hear the words mental health?
Well, you know, before this year of moving to San Diego, there's been, like I said, there's been a lot of great things that have come from living in San Diego. I mean, the most incredible experiences I've ever had. You know, working in my, you know, first nightclub environment, meeting some of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life, co-workers of mine that I, you know, deeply care for. All of that, even though great things have happened, there's been very, I guess you could say, not so great things that have happened as well. And before moving to San Diego, I didn't really know how to feel about the interpretation of mental health, the term, you know, mental health or depression or anxiety, stuff like that. I knew my mom had a great deal of that while I was growing up. I got to see a lot of that in her, and her explosive reactions that some of my friends can vouch for were very, very just confusing and like, why are you doing that? I don't get it. Like, and I just got irritated with it, you know, and I just didn't really understand it because I've never experienced it myself. I'm glad I hadn't then. But since moving to San Diego, like I was saying, great things have happened, but I'm now wanting to shift away from that because life is not perfect. We all know it's not. I mean, social media, it can, you know, you can make anything up on social media. A lot of it is very factual, and everything I put out is very factual of what is happening, but there is no secret that there are underlying tones to what real people are really experiencing at times. Behind the scenes kind of stuff is what I'm referring to. So I've experienced a decent amount of mishappenings and just unfortunate events in the time span of living here in San Diego. And what mental health now means to me, I take on a lot more of a respect view on it, and I take it a lot more seriously. You know, a lot of people, and including me before I got to experience a sense of a minor depression in some aspects, don't understand why some people act the way they do or say the things that they do or whatever, think the things that they do. And it's because it's real. I mean, it's really real when you're experiencing that, and a lot of people who haven't experienced that cannot really wrap their head around it. They can kind of get a grasp on the idea of it all, but you know, they will never actually fully understand what it's like to go through something like that. And I think that's, I mean, as shitty as it sounds, I think it's really important for people to experience that once in their life at least, so they can gain that perspective, because I know I didn't have that, and I gained that perspective while living down here, and I have a lot more sympathy and care and perspective for people who are going through this kind of stuff. So when I think of mental health now, I again have a lot more care for it. I have different perspectives on it. I try and reach out to those people even more so than I did before, because I like I said, I want everybody to be as happy as they can be and live the life that they wish to live, and not really take shit from anybody. That's kind of the whole idea to me, what just the big idea of life is, and I think that's really important to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I take it very seriously now. And if any of you guys ever need anything, do not be afraid to hit me up or anything like that. So yeah.
Nice. So speaking of depression and mental health, do you know if you have depression or anything?
I will say currently I do not. Not too long ago I did. Yes, I am more than okay with admitting that. You should never, one, be afraid of admitting that. There is some unfortunate events that have happened in the last couple months or whatever it's been that have, pushed me into that place, and it's not a fun place at all. It's very unfortunate, and it's needless to say, it's a dark place. And I've never been one for being dramatic about any of this or ever having any sort of mental health issues at all, but experiencing this now, yes, I was in a place of depression for sure. I'm coming out of that for sure, but yeah, I was for sure there. I know what it's like, and it sucks big time.
Okay, how do you know that you're depressed? Because every time when I'm like, I was like researching about this topic beforehand, there's always this debate, like whether are you really depressed or are you just sad? Like, is there like a limit to these emotions?
Yes. You will. Okay, let me put it this way. So, when you just know something, right? Whether it be this is the right thing to do, or you're in love, or you just have a knowing of some sort. It's the same thing. You can be sad, for sure. Everyone can be sad, but you will know when you're in a state of depression, and it won't even have to be questioned. Sadness is usually short term, can get over or can be overcome very easily, with day-to-day things. But depression is a lot deeper than that. Depression is, you feel like you're almost in a hole. You feel small. You feel like there's no escaping. There's no way out. You're stuck. Just term after term like that. And that's how you really know there's a bigger underlying issue. Whether it be because you're dependent on somebody for happiness, or you're depressed because you lost something or someone, or any other reason, or just self-confidence issues. You'll know. There's not even a question to it. And a lot of people get that confused with sadness, but you'll start to very soon realize, oh crap, I can't actually bring myself out of this unless I do something very, very drastic to change that. And like I said, sadness is short term, so it can be fixed quite easily, but depression is not, and it cannot be fixed very easily.
That's true. So what age range do you think depression can affect someone?
I would say the age range that most people are affected by is within 18 to 25-year-olds. I say that because I did actually a research project on this, because I believe this so strongly, and it turned out to be true. At least from the data that I got and sources online and everything like that. You go through the biggest changes in your life when you're from 18 to 25. Most people graduate from high school, they go to college, they get through college, they do big things with jobs, they're trying to find out who they really are. People are coming to an end with puberty and stuff like that. Hormones are going crazy. So big changes are really, really happening, and that is most of the time between the age ranges of 18 and 25. So a lot of people struggle with who they are and their self-confidence in that way. And a lot of people begin to use substances to cope with that, such as, alcohol, weed, whatever other drugs you might be interested in or have tried to sometimes even, numb the pain or whatever. Or it could just simply be because you want to party or you just like doing it. That's cool too. But what a lot of people don't realize is that can take a very heavy toll on your body, and it can really, really mess with you. And without you even knowing it, can slowly slide you into a sense of depression. And you just have to catch that and watch out for that and make sure that's not happening, because once you get too far into it, then you're already kind of there and it's harder to get out and climb out of that hole. So yeah, just watch out while you're in your age range of 18 to 25. I'm in it right now. I'm 21 years old, and like I just said, I experienced a little bit of it myself. I'm gonna give you one piece of advice. If you're in this and you're feeling depressed, do not drink or use any sort of substance to try and make that shit feel better, because it won't work. It won't work. Don't try and use somebody else as an emotional crutch to make yourself feel better, because it won't work. In the very end, you're still gonna have those issues, but have a friend there. Have friends that are there for you, because that is ultimately the biggest thing that's going to help you. So
yeah, to touch up on that, I agree with what Dawson said about like, don't drink, don't do this. You're not gonna get better. It's not gonna. Well, it is gonna numb the pain, but just like it's temporary. Pain is temporary. And I agree with what Dawson said about having friends by your side, but the thing about that is that you can have as many friends as you have currently. They can tell you this, they can try to push you, but just remember, at the end of the day, it's all up to you. It's your decision how you want to handle your life, how you want to go about your day, how you want to do things, what you want to do.
Yep, very true. It's all up to you. It's literally just a mental game of showing yourself, really, is what it comes down to, is showing yourself that things aren't as bad as they might seem that they are. It's really just convincing your brain that, because when you're in a state of depression, your brain literally can't fathom other things outside of its depressed walls or whatever. So you have to force yourself to do things and show it that that's not the case that it is thinking it is. So that's another big piece of advice that I would give to you guys, is just go out and force yourself to do things and show yourself that, for sure.
Yeah, it's like your mind is like clouded and you start talking irrationally. In fact, you might even like tend to push people away, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I mean, what I would say now is, if you are going to go through a state of depression, or just heavy sadness for whatever reason, or you're having anxiety about whatever, honestly, this is another piece of my biggest advice. When you're in this state of mind, you're really going to withdraw from a lot of things. That's a known fact when it comes to dealing with this sort of stuff, is you're gonna withdraw from a lot of things, your hobbies, your best friends, sometimes even family and stuff like that. You're just gonna kind of seclude yourself a little bit, and that's okay. Do that if you need to do that for a little while, but at the end of the day, you have to remind those people and your family that you're not doing it because you don't like them or you don't love them, you don't want them in your life anymore, because that's a big important thing as well. Your friends are gonna question their worth to you. They're going to really just think, oh, am I not good enough anymore? And that's not the case at all. So you really need to make sure that those bonds with those people are secured and they know it. You're going through some things right now. You're dealing with things on your own, which is cool, which is fine. But just reassure those people that, you're still there and that you care about them and that everything's okay between you guys. Everything will be okay in the end. It's just a rough patch, because the last thing you want to do, trust me, is when you come out of this depression, the last thing you want to see is those people not there, because that is gonna suck. So always ensure them of that, even though you are going through some stuff of your own, and it will be a lot better in the end. I promise you.
That's true. Do you think depression is known? Like, do you think a lot of people talk about it, or is there anything that's being done
I would say a lot of people know about it, but I don't think a lot of people understand it. I know 99% of the world knows of what depression is, but I can almost guarantee you that 50% of those people don't know what it is. They know what it is, but they don't know what it is on like a deeper level because they haven't experienced it. Do I think people brush it off sometimes and think other people are being dramatic about it? Yes, I used to do that as well. I used to be that person where I would see a classmate or something, with either cut up wrists or whatever, and I'd be like, oh man, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't care, kind of like. So, and that's simply just because I didn't get it. It's not that I was ever mean to those people or didn't care for those people. It's just like I didn't understand it. I always thought they were being dramatic, like wanting attention, yada yada. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's not. All you can really do for those people, though, is make sure, if you want to, and you're their friend, make sure they're okay. Be there for them. Be their friend, because ultimately it's their decision and choice if they want to help themselves or not. That's kind of what it comes down to. But you can definitely have the assistance of friends and people around you. Can sure as hell help more than you think it can. And I think if we're all just kind of there for each other and we work on ourselves while also at the same time helping other people who need it, I think, and it sounds funny, but I really do think if everybody can do that on the face of this earth, then there will, hands down, without a doubt in my mind, be world peace. And it sounds ridiculous, but it all starts within, and it all has to do with your self-confidence. And that's where some of the world's biggest issues, I think, kind of stem from, is feeling insecure, dealing with your self-confidence, and being scared. So I think if you all just kind of internally deal with that and at the same time help other people, then the world will be an amazing place if everyone's just trying to be nice to each other. So that's my take on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you think our generation is doing a good job of spreading like this awareness of mental health, this awareness of depression and anxiety?
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit stronger, but it's obviously been around for a long time where kids my age, your age, older generations as well, have very much so made it a point to get this across to people and make it known that it's a serious thing. And I can see it in the future as well, growing and growing and growing. So more and more people take it seriously and don't just blow it off like it's nothing, because I know just even from 5 years ago, it's gotten more of a serious topic that a lot more people are taking seriously nowadays, and I think that's great. I myself, like I said, never used to really care too much, but now that I have experienced it, I'm like, okay, this is a real thing. This is something to take seriously, and I think everybody should be on that level as well. So yeah, I think it's a growing thing. I think it's a really good thing that it is growing. Yeah.
Okay. What are the best piece of advices to cope with depression? Like, would you consider doing any like hobbies, get out of your comfort zone?
Yes, all of the above. I would highly recommend getting out, doing things that that make you happy, even though it might not, make you feel happy at the moment. It is what makes you happy. You just don't know it at the moment because you're going through it. So do that. If it's going to the gym, go to the gym. If it's hanging out with new people, go hang out with new people. Another huge piece of advice I have is change your environment. If you feel comfortable in your environment, that's great. Keep that in your back pocket. But I would highly recommend getting out and, meeting new people, going new places, experiencing new things, switching up your job maybe if you can. I can promise you, it's like half of the battle is feeling stuck in your environment that you're in. And if you change that, I really think that, you know, it can benefit you in many ways. So environment change is a huge one, I think. Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, but what if you have like a limit? Like, what if you're not able to do any of those options? Because I live in an Asian household, so growing up, I'm always expected to like do this and that based on like my parents' teaching. Like, it's as if their sayings are absolute. Like, you need to be a doctor to do this. You need to be a nurse to have a good financial stability and to be successful in life. So what other options could I do?
Well, I guess it all is circumstantial, right? We all have different lives, and, you know, different things we have to deal with and overcome. So what I would say to that is take a look at your situation, and see what you can change. If there are things that you can change and you feel like you need to change, I would take those steps first. It doesn't matter how small they are or how big they are. If you can at least adjust those things, do so. It doesn't have to be a great grand change of your environment, like moving out or anything like that. But if you can tweak maybe your daily routine of things just in the slightest bit to change it up, I think that will give you enough traction in order to get your mind on a new track, on a healthier track. Because you're right, a lot of people have different circumstances and a lot of different family cultures and stuff like that. And that's totally cool. You just need to kind of learn how to adjust with that and work with it and play the field really is the end game of what I'm getting at. So yeah, I mean, it's just whatever works for you, really. Whatever you know that will make you happy, try and do that, because you have to realize it's your life. Ultimately, it's your life. There is not something you are 100% stuck in. You can do anything you want. Really, you can, even though it might scare you or make your safety feel threatened or whatever. Just know that you can do whatever you want, is my point. I'm not saying you should, but at least just knowing that will give you a ease of mind, at least in my case, it does. Knowing I have that option. So yeah, again, if you can just tweak it a little bit, there you go. It should help a lot and should get you on a healthy track to overcoming whatever you're going through, I think.
Now, I feel like people really have a hard time with depression because they really don't talk about it. It's actually hard to talk about it. Like, you know, you go on about your day, you're practically an actor, you know, like you're acting like you're having a good day, like nothing's bothering you whatsoever, stuff like that. Like, why do you think people tend to hide their vulnerability, like especially among their like closest friends?
You know, I've thought about that before, because I mean, I am one to do that. I think for me personally, it's because I know they're my friends. I know they want to help me. And I love that and I care about that so much. I value that among a lot of things. I care about my friends the most. But, you know, sometimes I think what it comes down to is your way of thinking. Like literally what your brain does is like it wants to recede away from everything and not show anything and kind of just be with itself, because that's what depression does. Is that it, I don't know, it it secludes you. That's it. It just secludes you, and it's not anything that is a good thing or should happen, but that is the reality of it. That's what happens. And that's just a known thing. It's not that you're trying to say, you know, F you to your friends or anything like that. It's just the circumstance. And that's what I'm trying to say is you need to break that circumstance and you need to get out and do things and force yourself to do things even though you don't want to, which might also be talking to your friends who care about you, because they do care about you and they want to know what's happening in your life, and they don't want you to hurt, and they don't want you to be, sad or anything like that. So, like I was saying before, if you need to get away and seclude yourself, do it for a little bit, but don't do it for too long, because you don't want to lose those friends. And even though that might be what is making you feel better right now, might not make you feel better in the long run. So yeah, well, just watch out for that.
I see. Was there ever like a certain experience that made you go into a state of depression?
Yes, there's been a couple of experiences throughout my life that have, in a sense, put me into a depression. One of them being up in Castro Valley when I lived there. I had the worst soccer coach ever. He was a complete ass, just made me feel like complete trash. Basically make me feel like I was nothing. And that really screwed me up. And so I quit, changed my environment. Like I said, I quit the team. Almost immediately I felt better, like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I got that much better like that. And I felt completely fine. About after a week, I felt my complete self again. There has been other things, like I said, in San Diego that have kind of put me into the state as well. And I won't go into too much detail about it, but essentially what happened was I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, and I didn't allow myself to have the time to mentally recover from that. And I immediately jumped into this, basically a new relationship with this girl, who, it's funny, I'm not speaking ill of anybody at all. I actually think she is probably one of the greatest people I've ever met. There's a select few people in my life that I would say that about, and I'm not just saying this to say it. I really do mean that. And throughout that whole 10 months it was while me and her were talking, I wasn't fully still recovered from whatever I was going through, from my ex's trauma. And without me even knowing it, I basically put a band-aid on it and was like, oh, I'm good, like whatever. And I basically just buried it down and didn't deal with it, didn't really feel anything, because I was distracted that entire time by this amazing girl that I essentially kind of in the end ruined unintentionally, because my ex moved back down to San Diego. I started talking with her again, not on an intimate level at all. But I never fully committed to the new girl because my insecurities were still there, and I wasn't sure what I really wanted, and I didn't know who I truly was. And in the end of it all, I screwed it up with the new girl. I pushed her away, I made her feel awful, and without me even noticing or realizing what I was doing this entire time until this past week. And I have had time to think to myself, alone, away from any girls at all, and have had time to really sit with myself and kind of try and regain my self-confidence with this whole situation after this many months, and kind of get back to who I am at my roots. And yeah, it's been a ride. That's what my whole point is. It's been a ride. It's not a proud one, but the way I see it is life is kind of about learning and reflecting and just changing, really. To me, that's what it's about. And would I redo it all if I could? That's hard to say, because I never wanted anyone to feel like that, but I also don't know if I ever would have learned any of this to, in the future, treat people how they actually want to be treated. Am I sorry? Yes, 1,000,000 times over. But some things I don't know, it's shitty, but you have to learn in a very, very shitty way. So if you think things are going to end up for the worst, for the time being, they might. They might suck for sure. But, on the other side, it's like you look back, you reflect, and you learn, and you better yourself, and then in turn, you better other people. and I hope to repair those damages that I made with certain people that I'm referring to very soon, when everything is settled and everyone's okay. But it just takes time, really. That's kind of the main idea behind everything. I think it just takes time, and healing is what it's all about. And not spreading hate, and just, spreading your love to as many people as you can, because in the end, that's all that matters. You just gotta keep in mind there are times, I will say. But yeah, there you go, guys. I mean, there's all my advice for you. And mental health is a big thing. It's a real thing. It really is. And I would just say keep an eye out for it. Don't let it affect you. Don't let it, things get to you. Don't let you get in your own head about, certain things. It's not worth it. I mean, it'll happen, and it sucks when it does, but you just have to remember, whether you're in college, whether you're not in college, if you're going through some shit or not, you just gotta make it to the end of the road. I mean, you'll be good. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's my whole point. And yeah, so stay focused on that. And I mean, with that, you should be fine if you have a little bit of a support system around you. Just have those friends with you. You should be good.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I respect that. I agree with that. And another thing to touch on is that just be patient. Strive. Keep striving. Show your persistence. Don't ever give up. Especially if you're like being put down and like called worthless. Like you're useless to this family. Just that personal thing.
That's just depressing.
You just gotta keep pushing through,
yeah.
Everything's temporary. Pain is temporary.
That's facts. Just ignore the bullshit. Keep going with whatever you want to keep going with, man. And, everything else is just kind of fade away, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. It's just being friends, positivity, whatever. It sounds cheesy as hell. Don't get me wrong, it does. But nevertheless, it's the truth. So, yeah. Keep going with that and you should be good.
All right. Thank you guys again for coming through to me and Dawson's podcast about mental health. And like to announce that we do not have any degrees about like psychology or mental health issues or anything about like that and stuff. So,
but that's the other thing is goddamn, I can guarantee you don't need shit. Yeah, you don't have to go to school for that shit. Are you kidding me?
You don't need to you don't need a degree to like prove yourself what you've been through. You
don't need to go to school for anything. If you know it, you know it. If you're an expert in it, you're an expert in it. School doesn't mean shit. Honestly, it doesn't. It helps, but it doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't. Keep it going, guys.
Peace
out.